and welcome to The World Now at 4. I am Udwak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headline, Supreme Court reserves judgment over Electoral Amendment Act 2022. Still on the headlines, South Africa demands France exit in Africa. Also on the headline, strong quake strikes Peru. No reports of damage or casualties. And on sports, Mourinho hails Conference League history for Roma. And now the news in detail. The Supreme Court on Thursday, May 26, reserved judgment in the suit filed by Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, Attorney General of the Federation Abubakar Malami, to void the provisions of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022. Justice Musa Datijo, who led the 7-member panel of the Justices of Supreme Court, reserved judgment after counsel to all the parties adopted all their processes. He, however, said the court will announce a date to the parties involved for judgment. On May 19, the Apex Court admitted an application filed by Rivers to be joined in the suit. And away from that story, the Independent National Electoral Commission, that is INEC, has teamed up with the Federal Inland Revenue Service, that is the FIRS, to recommend tax compliance as prerequisites for clearing aspirants to contest for elections positions. The executive chairman of the FIRS and chairman Joint Tax Board, that is the JTB, Mohammed Nami, made the recommendation at a meeting with the INEC in Abuja. The meeting was aimed at strengthening collaboration among agencies to ensure tax compliance among candidates in the upcoming elections. According to Nami, whoever does not pay tax should not be given payers' money to superintendents.
Observations show that some asset declarations made by political actors also have been inconsistent with their tax status. Relevant agencies are encouraged to work together towards ensuring that political parties carry out diligent screening of aspirants and candidates. Tax compliance, therefore, should be a prerequisite for.
On his part, the INEC chairman, Yakubu, pledged INEC's commitment to relevant agencies to ensure public officers and holders complied with Nigeria's constitution and relevant laws, including payment of tax.
In our efforts to make Nigeria a better place and to ensure that persons who occupy elective offices comply with the laws of the land and they are suitably qualified to hold public trust.
The chairman of Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences, that is the ICPC, Bolaji Owasonoye, said false records presented by some public office holders is reflecting in the kind of governance in some places. Bringing you more stories, this time heading off to Anambra State, where Governor Chukwuma Soludo has imposed curfew in areas affected by rising cases of criminal activities in the state. In a broadcast on the security situation, he said a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. curfew has also been imposed on tricycles, motorcycles and shuttle buses till further notice.
Government. Agwata Ihiala, Epusigo, Newi North, Newi South, Obaru, Orumba North and South local governments until further notice. We will review this and say whether we then extend it to the rest of the states. But let's start with this, if you like, the red local governments. Until further notice also, motorcycles, keke and shuttle buses are banned from operating in these local governments on Mondays until the sit-at-home completely stops. All through Monday, none of this should operate, because that's what they use to go and force their sit-at-home. Of these unions continue to be involved in criminal activities, the government will have no choice but to either disband the unions and or ban them outrightly in the state. The union should take responsibility. If the current trend continues, we will have no qualms banning Okada and Keke outrightly in this. An emergency measure disband the leadership of any community which fails to report criminal activities in their communities or immediately respond to the request contained in this address. All market leaders and stakeholders are hereby charged to join the communities in taking back their territory and monitor the activities in their markets. They are all required to return weekly security reports to the state government. Everybody who either in person or through telephone calls demands cash support or ransom from anyone foretells of a more glorious future. We thank all the stakeholders in the Anambra project, and particularly we thank the security agencies who are here for the of the nation. God bless you all. God bless the Anambra State. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The governor placed a 1 million naira bounty on anyone who provides information on those offering support to criminals. Soludo stated that any community and/or individual lands used as camps by terrorists will be forfeited by the government. He added that compulsory closed-circuit television, that is the CCTV, would be installed in all field stations in the state and footage submitted to the security agencies weekly. Still in the news, Abba Kyari, the suspended DCP, on Thursday approached a federal high court for another bail plea. Kyari and 3 of his co-defendants, through their counsel, urged Justice Emeka Nwite to admit them to a bail because their lives in the Kuje Correctional Center, where they are being remanded, were unsafe. At a resumed hearing, Onyechi Ikpeazu San, counsel to Kyari and suspended ACP Sunday Obia, confirmed that an application seeking for bail for the first, second, fourth, and fifth defendants had been filed and served on the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, that is the NDLEA. He said the application became necessary due to the nature of the work the defendants had done in the course of policing the country. Ikpeazu said the defendants are being remanded with criminals in the correctional center who, through them, their arrests were made possible. The senior lawyer said their lives are at risk, hence the need for their bail. When we return, news from other parts of Africa. Don't go away. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Angola's presidential palace in Luanda was decked out to receive the president of Senegal, Macky Sall, on day 1 of a 3-day visit. The trip being the first by a Senegalese head of state to Angola, aimed at boosting friendly relations between the two countries following the opening of an Angolan embassy in Dakar. Sall, who is also the acting president of the African Union, was received by his counterpart, João Lourenço. The two heads of state are calling for a reform of the UN Security Council, which has no African country as a permanent member. Several cooperation agreements were signed with an emphasis on the partnership for oil exploration. Sall also announced that he would follow the Angolan example and open a Senegalese embassy in Luanda. The president of Senegal will next travel to Equatorial Guinea for the African Union Summit this weekend. Now let's have you know that hundreds of demonstrators from the South African Economic Freedom Fighters Party, that is the EFF, marched Wednesday to the French embassy in Pretoria as the continent marked the 59th anniversary of the foundation of the Organization of African Unity. The protesters demanded that France leave Africa. EFF spokesperson Leanne Matthys, France still has its fingers deeply stuck in its former French colonies, which had done more harm. Dressed in their traditional red t-shirts and caps, the political activists carried placards reading, "France must pay reparations for its colonial crimes." The party leader, Julius Malema, urged France to exit the economic, political, cultural, and military affairs of the continent, saying French colonialism in the African continent continues to be the most brutal form of colonialism in the African continent. Armed police guarded the embassy, and French ambassador Aurélien Le Chevalier appeared briefly to receive the protesters' memorandum of demands, vowing to convey it to Paris. The envoy reaffirmed France was friends to African nations. We now move to other parts of the world. After this break, do stay with us. Welcome back to The World Now at 4 on the stables of Hills TV. A senior State Department official said on Thursday that the Biden administration has not invited anyone from Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's government or the Nicaraguan government to the U.S.-hosted Summit of the Americas next month. Testifying to a Senate subcommittee, Kevin O'Reilly, the U.S. Summit coordinator, said it would be up to the White House to decide whether to invite Cuba to the Los Angeles meeting, but that Cuban civil society activists had been asked to attend. Cuba's president said on Twitter late on Wednesday that under no circumstances would he go to the summit. An earthquake of magnitude 7.2 struck the Tirapata region of southern Peru on Thursday, the United States Geological Survey, that is the USGS, said. The quake was at a depth of 212 kilometers, that is 132 miles, USGS said. The U.S. Tsunami Warning System said there was no tsunami warning in place. There were no early reports of damage or casualties. Earlier, the European Mediterranean Seismological Center, that is the EMSC, pegged the quake at magnitude 7. According to local media reports, the quake was also felt in the southern regions of Arequipa, Cusco, and Tacna, where residents took to the streets for safety. Some important mines in Peru, the world's second largest copper producer, are located in the south of the country. Let's bring this to you, the fact that a vessel carrying more than 800 Haitians trying to reach the United States wound up instead on the coast of central Cuba in what appeared to be the largest group seen yet in a swelling exodus from crisis-stricken Haiti. Red Cross officials in the province of Villa Clara said Wednesday that the 842 Haitians were being housed at a tourist campground. The group arrived Tuesday at Villa Blanca, about 300 kilometers east of Havana, and reportedly included 70 children and 97 women. The Haitians said they called for help with light signals after being abandoned and cast adrift by their captain. 19-year-old Joyce Paul, who arrived on the boat, told reporters that they were on Tortuga Island for 2 months, waiting for a trip until last Saturday, when at 5 in the morning they were taken to the boat. Paul said 15 people threw themselves into the sea because they couldn't stand hunger. Paul was traveling with an uncle, his wife, and a baby at a cost of $4,000 per person. The family said the captain abandoned them early Tuesday on a separate small boat after taking their cell phones. The ship was listing. With a flashlight, they managed to draw the attention of people in Cuba's coast. While the number of migrants on this single vessel seemed unprecedented, the U.S. Coast Guard and other nations have reported intercepting several boats carrying well over 100 Haitians in recent months. Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro has decided to attend the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles next month and plans to meet with U.S. President Joe Biden. Close allies of the South American leaders said late Wednesday. 3 of Bolsonaro's cabinet ministers confirmed Bolsonaro's decision to the Associated Press following weeks during which his attendance remained a question, with some media reporting he had ruled it out. The Brazilian officials, who spoke on condition of anonymity because they weren't authorized to speak publicly, said the bilateral meeting with Biden has been confirmed. The press office of the U.S. Embassy in Brasilia declined to comment. A bilateral meeting in Los Angeles would be a first for the U.S. and Brazilian leaders. The summit, which the United States is hosting for the first time since the inaugural event in 1994, has risked collapsing over concerns about the guest list, with several leaders in the region threatening not to attend. Up next on The World Now at 4 is business news. Do stay with us. Great to have you back. Always a delight. This is The World now at 4 on Hills TV. And this time talking business. The Federation Account Allocation Committee, that is the FAAC, has shared a total of sum of 656.602 billion naira April 2002 Federation account revenue to the federal government, state and local government councils. This was contained in a communique issued at the end of a virtual meeting of the Federation Account Allocation Committee, that is FAC, for May 2022. The 656.602 billion naira total distributable revenue comprised distributable statutory revenue of 461.189 billion naira, distributable value added tax, that is the VAT revenue of 166.522 billion naira, the sum of 8.891 billion naira being excess bank charges recovered, and augmentation of 20 billion naira in April 2002. The total deductions for cost of collection was 29.609 billion naira, and total deductions for transfers and refunds was 147.651 billion naira. The communique confirmed that from the total distributable revenue of 656.602 billion naira, the federal government received 257.611 billion naira, to state governments received 201.256 billion naira, and the local government council received 149.251 billion naira. The sum of 48.485 billion naira was shared to the relevant states as 13% derivative revenue. Gross statutory revenue of 635.037 billion naira was received for the month of April 2022. This was lower than the 933.304 billion naira received in the previous month by 289.283 billion naira. Still talking business, according to the banking data, cash-strapped banks borrowed 338.5 billion naira from the Central Bank of Nigeria, that is the CBN, in January to breach their funding gap. Figures from the CBN's monthly reports for January on standing facilities windows operations showed that the banks continued to utilize the standing lending facility and deposit lending facility in the sector. It stated that activities at the standing facility window during the period reflected improved banking system liquidity. Findings showed that total standing lending facility contracted considerably by 52.4% to 338.4 billion naira from 711.54 billion naira in December 2021, a fallout of the improved banking system liquidity in the period. In addition, the activity at the interbank call segment contributed to the significant deadline in SLF. Similarly, transactions at the standing deposit facility increased by 7.0% to 246.21 billion naira from 230.22 billion naira in the preceding month, further buttressing liquidity condition in the market. The Director, Corporate Communications, CBN, Osita Nwasinobi, did not pick calls or respond to text messages seeking comments, and bank officials declined comment on the developments. Away from that story, importation of durum or pasta, wheat, into Nigeria has continued to skyrocket, rising from 730.9 billion naira in 2020 to 1.295 trillion naira in 2021. The Punch's calculation from the National Bureau of Statistics foreign trade statistics showed that wheat importation into Africa's most populous nation rose 77.23% from 2020 to 2021. Wheat is an important commodity which serves as flour in the production of pasta, bread, noodles, amongst others. Economists said the difference in the 2 years could be attributed to the devaluation of the nation's currency and insecurity that led to little or no production in the northern region for a number of years. Naira devalued by over 15% in the official market and over 20% in the parallel market in the 2 years. But insurgents and bandits in the north have also sacked farmers of wheat and other crops, leading to supply chain disruptions. He said apart from currency depreciation, the country had not succeeded in growing wheat, noting that the Central Bank of Nigeria was making efforts to bolster the growth of the crop by asking for millers to invest in backward integration. And now on matters that concern the Ukraine war and its effect on the economy worldwide, the head of the World Bank has warned that Russia's invasion of Ukraine could cause a global recession as the price of food, energy and fertilizer jump. David Malpass told the U.S. business event on Wednesday that it is difficult to see how we avoid a recession. He also said that a series of coronavirus lockdowns in China is adding to concerns about a slowdown. His comments are the latest warnings over the rising risk that the world economy may be set to contract. Last month, the World Bank cut its global economic growth forecast for this year by almost a full percentage point to 3.2%. Still to come on The World Now at 4 is sports. Don't go away.
Good evening and welcome to Sports News on World Now at 4. I am Ainan Lubem. Now to Sports News. Super Eagles manager Jose Peseiro, who is expected to meet with the squad for the first time today in the United States, that is US, has promised to build a team Nigerians would be proud of. Peseiro took to his social media handle to express his joy in landing the Super Eagles job, while acknowledging that the Nigerian side is one of the greatest teams in the world. The former Venezuela coach also promised to win Nigeria's 4th Africa Cup of Nations title. The Portuguese is expected to start working with his players ahead of this weekend's international friendly games against Mexico and Ecuador. 8 players from the Nigeria Professional Football League, that is NPFL, left for the US on Tuesday to team up with their Europe-based colleagues ahead of the friendly games. The Black Stars head coach Otto Addo has named his squad for the upcoming 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, as well as the 4-nation tournament to be held in Japan. The Otto Addo-led technical team, which announced this on Tuesday night, released a 33-man squad for the next week's AFCON qualifiers, with the Black Stars taking part in Kirin's Super Cup. Andrew Ayew returns to the squad after missing out on the FIFA World Cup playoff game against Nigeria due to serving his 2-match ban. There is a place also for Mubarak Wakasu and Kamaldeen Suleimana, while Jonathan Mensah also makes a return to the team. From the Ghana Premier League, Bechem United's goalkeeper Augustine Okra and Hearts of Oaks Daniel Afriye Baranier are called up for the international break. Away from the local scene now to Sadio Mane, Liverpool forward seems to be ready for the final of the European Champions League, which takes place this Saturday in Paris in an exciting match between Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool and the mythical Real Madrid. The Reds coach will count on his striker Sadio Mane to defeat the mythical Spanish club. The African champion approaches this final without pressure, as the game, which double stakes for Sadio Mane, will be fighting a long-distance battle with Madrid striker Karim Benzema in their quest for the Ballon d'Or. Sadio Mane, Liverpool forward, on whether lifting the Champions League would give him a better chance of winning the Ballon d'Or, said from the beginning his goal for Liverpool is to win 4 trophies. They have won 2 and lost 1. Mane says it is time for the Champions League to be won by the club, stressing that he would be very happy to win the Champions League and the Ballon d'Or. Benzema, Mane, a duo to follow and reminiscent on the 2018 final, where each had found the net. Beating 3-1 that day, Liverpool has a revenge to take. Jose Mourinho has said that he and Roma made history after winning the Europa Conference League on Wednesday, the club's first ever major European trophy. Portuguese coaching icon Mourinho tried and failed to hold back the tears after Roma beat Feyenoord in their first continental final in over 3 decades, and he was still emotional by the time he hailed his team after the trophy ceremony. Roma fans have taken Mourinho into their hearts during an up-and-down season, which culminated in Wednesday's 1-0 win in Tirana, which ended a 14-year trophy drought for the capital club. Wednesday's triumph was his 5th European title and made him the first coach to win all current UEFA competitions. And he has confirmed he will be staying at Roma next season to build on the solid work done in his debut season. And that's sports news on World Now at 4. Back to Udwag Daniel for the rest of the news.
Terrific inputs right there from you, Ainan Lubem. Thank you so very much for that, sports. And now, still in the news, police were urged to charge into a deadly school shooting in Texas by onlookers, with one suggesting he considered doing so himself as he became frustrated. Texas officials say gunman Salvador Ramos was inside the school in Uvalde for up to an hour before he was killed. 19 children and 2 adults died, while 17 others were injured. Eyewitnesses Juan Carranza told news media that women shouted at officers to go in there, but a 24-year-old who witnessed the scene at the Robb Elementary School from outside his house said police did not enter. Javier Cazares, whose daughter was killed in the attack, told the news agency he suggested running into with other onlookers because the police weren't doing anything. Authorities said the gunman locked himself in a classroom, which officers then struggled to gain access to. Stephen McCraw, the director of the Texas Department of Public Safety, told a news conference on Wednesday that the gunman was on site for between 40 minutes and an hour before law enforcement were able to contain him. And that's World Now at 4. But before we go, another look at our headlines again. We told you that Supreme Court reserves judgment over Electoral Amendment Act 2022. We also told you South Africa demands France exit in Africa. Earlier on the headlines, strong quake strikes Peru, no reports of damage or casualties. And on sports, we told you Mourinho hails Conference League history for Roma. Remember to visit us on Facebook at Hills TV, Instagram at Hills TV. Our YouTube channel is at Hills TV.